What's up? Welcome back to my channel. I am Diana, the creator of Money Boss Mama, and I talk about all things money here on this channel for the ladies. And as you can probably see from the title of this video, we're talking about some times that it may make more sense to go into debt. And I know some of you are like, girl, you teach debt freedom. What do you mean go into debt? But sometimes things happen. I know that we often talk about how important it is to get out of debt, but sometimes you have to take on a little bit of debt. And so I'm going to be going over a few of those reasons why you may find yourself in more debt. But I want to say as a quick disclaimer, exhaust all of your resources and options before choosing debt. Now that I've said that, let's go ahead and get started. The first reason where debt may make more sense is housing. If you feel like just your health and well-being is in jeopardy and you don't really have anywhere else to go, you need a safe, stable place to stay, then debt may be an option. And maybe you know you're coming up late on rent or your mortgage, or you find yourself with an eviction notice taped to your door. I have lived through that experience before. You may have to put some or all of your rent or your mortgage on credit. And this is especially true like if you find yourself in a state and you don't have any family or friends, it's just you in that state, then please don't choose the streets. Please do not choose the streets in order to avoid debt. And this is especially true if you have kids. If you have children, obviously you need to provide them a safe and stable place. They need a roof over their head. And if you've fallen on hard times, which a lot of people have, especially during the pandemic, I think I was reading a study where not a study, but an article where the credit card debt was way over what it typically is for each household in the US. And that's because we've fallen on hard times and a lot of people don't have enough money in savings to cover them in case something happens. And I will say I've put my rent on credit before. I totally have. I was coming up short on rent, so I put it on credit because I really could not go back to my mom's. But at the end of the day, I still became debt free. Sometimes you have to take a few steps back in order to take more steps forward. And at the end of the day, as long as you don't give up, you stay consistent and you get right back on track after your little setback, then you can still achieve debt freedom. And I'm proof of that. And this also goes for utilities as well, especially if you have kids. Going back to the children, you don't want to be without heat in the winter and without air in the summertime. So maybe you have to put your utilities on credit, then make a plan on how you are going to pay it back off. The second reason why going into debt may make more sense is transportation. And I know that this is highly debated. I get so many messages from women who are like, they're in debt, they have this auto loan because they had to get a new car and they really did not have a choice. That's what I often see. I did not have a choice. I had to get this auto loan. And I will admit, like, the ignorant part of me, how I used to be like, what do you mean you didn't have a choice? You had a choice, but that was very ignorant of me. And I say that because breaking it down, sometimes you may not have a choice. Like if you're a single mom, like most of them were, transportation is how you get to and from work. If you're not getting to and from work, you have no income to come in. You're not making anything. And if you can't get your kids to and from school, you can't get to work so that you can make money to pay for your bills. So yes, you do need some form of transportation, especially if you are still working in the office. And that never really clicked in my mind because I was so wrapped up in the sacrifice everything for debt freedom mode, but I totally get why some people go into auto loans and say that they really did not have a choice because they needed reliable transportation. And I actually did like a little digging around because I know a lot of people say, we'll take the bus, there's Uber, take a taxi cab. So I wanted to see like how much would it be if someone were to go like the Uber route, right? And let me break it down for you really quickly. So let's say you took someone's advice that getting an auto loan is a bad idea and you should just suck it up and Uber to and from wherever you need to go. So using the cost estimator on the Uber site, I just plugged in my address to the address where I used to work, one of our locations when we were in the office. So this ride, if it was a straight shot, would have cost me about $23. Okay? But I have kids. Both of my kids get dropped off in 2 different locations in the morning time. So that would be 2 additional routes, right? Let's say that it was an extra $40 to make these 2 additional stops. So this would run me about $60. That is just going from my home to these places. But obviously I have to get home and I have to get my kids home. So I in this scenario, I was like, okay, well, I can have my mom go and pick up my kids after they get out of school. Cool. So I'm going to Uber to get to my kids and go home. This is 2 stops. The Uber's coming to get me, and then I have to go and get my kids. That's actually 1, 2, that would be 3 stops. They come to get me, and then I go and get my kids, and then I go home. So this would be, let's say it runs about $40. In one day, I have spent $100, probably over $100 on an Uber alone. Times that by a 5-day work week, and that's like $500, which is what some people's auto loan payment is. And this $500, it isn't going towards me owning anything. It's not going towards me eventually getting the title in my hands and the car is mine. So it may make more sense to get an auto loan and use that money you would be using to pay the Uber for a car that is actually yours. You can get to and from on your own time. You don't have to sit and wait and stress out about someone going to get your kids or anything like that. And eventually you would get to ownership, getting the title of the car. The car would be yours, and it doesn't have to be a super expensive car that you go out and get. Don't use this as an excuse to go out and finally get the car that you've been drooling over. No, keep it about $12,000 or less. Just make sure that it's going to last you for at least 4 to 5 years, I would say, especially if you're getting an auto loan, and make sure it's safe and it's enough to get you to and from and your kids to and from. Reason number 3, why it may make more sense to go into debt is to get a higher education. In order to stay competitive and just have more opportunities, it may take you going back to school or getting some type of training. Does this always mean that it is going to help you out? No, but I will say in most cases it does help. It does make a difference. And I've said once before, but I do not regret my student loans. Yeah, it sucked paying them back, but I know getting my degree helped me to qualify like for these jobs that I was applying for. And it really helped me to stand out during the interview process. And obviously don't go to school and get the maximum amount of student loans. Just get what you need to cover the cost of tuition or whatever training program that you're going into, and start making little payments while you are still a student in order to graduate with the least amount of debt. Reason number 4, why it may make more sense to go into debt is a big one, which is your health. Please do not choose death or being sick over getting the services and the prescriptions that you need to keep yourself alive and well. In my opinion, life comes first before anything else. We never know if we are going to fall ill tomorrow. And working as a CSR for an insurance company for over 3 years, I cannot even tell you guys how many times I have been on the phone with someone who was more concerned about the cost of something than the quality of their life. And they would just say, well, I guess I'm just going to die because I can't afford this. And yes, I understand where they are coming from. They're super overwhelmed about the cost. But when it comes to your life, let's focus on living, and then we make a plan to pay off the debt. So don't put off services that you need, going in to make sure everything is okay, especially if you have, a chronic condition. Get the prescriptions you need and the services you need. Cost should not even come into play when it comes to your life. You may have to put certain services on a credit card. You may have to take an ambulance ride tomorrow. And we all know ambulance rides are ridiculous. They're super expensive, but don't put off your life and your well-being for money. I will run up credit cards in the tens of thousands if it comes down to saving my life. And I want you guys to adopt the same mentality as well. Don't say, dig me a hole in the ground because I don't want to pay for this. Get the health services that you need. And the fifth reason why going into debt may make more sense is to support your business, your dream. If you believe wholeheartedly that your business is an investment and it will produce a return for you, then it may take a little bit of credit to get it started. And honestly, it takes credit for a lot of businesses to get started and to continue growing. You guys know that after I became debt free, I said that I went into debt again. I was in debt for about 2 months, and that was because I hired a coach or took a coaching program that taught me how to coach because I wanted to coach. I believed in my vision and my business. I wanted to coach. I knew that I could do this if I had the correct training and someone who has been there and done that and can teach me the ins and outs of this thing. And so I had to use my credit card in order to grow my business. And within the first 2 months of my coaching program, I made my investment back. And so if you need a little bit of credit to jumpstart your dreams and you believe that you're actually solving a problem and it's profitable, then you may find yourself in a little bit of debt. Once again, don't go crazy. Utilize all these resources that are out here, like free grants and things like that. Don't try to use business credit to get a Tesla or anything else, especially if you don't have the money to cover it. But this could be a reason why maybe you use debt. All right, guys, so that wraps up this video on 5 reasons why going into debt may make more sense. Remember that if you had to go into debt, it's just a temporary setback. It does not mean anything about you. I have gone into debt 4 to 5 more times, especially during my debt-free journey, and I still got to debt freedom. Make a plan, stick to your vision, and stay consistent. But I will catch you guys in the next video.